Now that is a lot of condensate. Yes! What's up, everyone? Welcome to Lowered Expectations. Thanks for lowering your expectations and hanging out with me here. I do appreciate it. In today's video, I am going to take this 64-liter tote, put 60 liters of water in it, which is about 16 gallons. Then I'm going to pop my heater on top, use the exhaust of the heater to heat up the water, and collect some data. I have the advantage of being from the future, and future Joel knows that partway through this video, I'm gonna pop back in and give you guys a little sneak peek of that noise over in that corner. Just so happens to be, I am actually doing a test on automatic transmission fluid, and it's pretty interesting. I finished making this piece off camera, and I'm hoping that when I put it on here, everything will line up. The idea is this will poke through the side of the container, maybe with an O-ring on there, and then this will go on the outside of the container, and then if everything works out, we will line up some bolt holes and tighten everything down, and it will seal up. So let's see if this actually works. And if it does, we can pretend that this is the first time that I tried. Okay. Okay, folks, this is what I have come up with. This is the exhaust outlet that hopefully doesn't leak. It's got a whole bunch of places that it could potentially leak from. I've got this, which, well, it can't leak, but it can fall off there and destroy the heater. And then we have the stuff inside. The boards are there just to hold stuff in place while the glue dries. As you can see, I haven't added water yet. I still need to add an exhaust clamp or hose clamp to the fitting on the heater, but everything else is ready to go. I'm going to add water to it, check to see if it's leaking anywhere. Hopefully it's not. If it does, I might just scrap the whole idea. If it doesn't, we're going to fire it up and see what comes out of here as far as moisture and also as far as carbon monoxide. Then I have a piece of stainless exhaust there that I am going to run out the window to get rid of the exhaust fumes. Okay, we've got a leak around that pipe. I'm going to stop adding, and I need to take care of that. I'm going to try to put some tacky tape around it. Crap. As you can probably tell by the fact that it is now dark outside, that took longer than I would have hoped. Turns out that one of my exhaust pipes was actually perforated. It had some small holes in it. And so after trying to seal the joints several times, I discovered that the joints were actually sealed, and yeah, it was just leaking through the pipe itself. So I've rebent and changed out that pipe, and I've actually used electrical tape to seal the joints up, and then I've used hose clamps over a fairly thick layer of electrical tape. I am quite confident that that is not going to overheat, especially if it stays in the water, which is the idea here. So let's just get some water in this. I'm kind of fed up at this point. Let's get to it. I sure hope this shelf holds. Okay, it seems to be holding. I'm going to start it up and get another half bucket of water or something. Okay, heat setting 3. We're going to crank her right up to 6. Don't know if I'm going to have a good place to put this because I don't want it falling in the water. Just hang it from here. That will definitely not fall in the water. To 184 Celsius on the heat exchanger. Let's plug in this and see if we can get a water temperature. The water is 41 Fahrenheit, 5 Celsius. I'm going to stick this in the exhaust where it's coming out. The exhaust coming out is about 10 degrees Celsius, 8 degrees 46 Fahrenheit. 8 Celsius, yeah, wow. Okay, let's check the carbon monoxide and see what we're dealing with here. I might let it run with the exhaust off for a little bit. It is currently 6:53 p.m. by the way, so almost 7 o'clock. I see some water coming out. Hope that's not leakage. Oh man, what just happened there? I've decided to place a couple little pieces of aluminum between the plastic and the exhaust, just in case. I checked the carbon monoxide level again, and it is completely off the scale. The meter tops out at 1,000 parts per million. And yeah, jumps up pretty quick and gets over 1,000 parts per million. So yeah, I'm gonna let it warm up a bit and see what happens. I'm running way less pipe than I was with my other test. Of course, there are bends in the pipe. I've already checked this once, but the battery died on the GoPro, so I'll check it again. It is an hour later. I've already stirred up the water in the container, but I'll do it again for your viewing pleasure. So we want to get a fairly consistent temperature throughout. We don't want to get a hot spot, give us a false reading. I can tell you from touching the water that the temperature has gone up considerably. And I can also tell you that I checked the carbon monoxide and it was off the charts pretty high, so not ideal, still not good. And I am running it in alpine mode. 17 degrees Celsius. When I checked it, when I first came out here, before the battery went dead on the GoPro, it was 15 degrees Celsius after an hour, up from 5 degrees. So it went up 10 degrees Celsius in 1 hour. It is currently 17 degrees. Pretty bad. It's now actually 2 hours and 20 minutes into the test, so an hour and 20 minutes since the last time I checked it. We'll check it again at 3 hours, but let's check it now and see what it is. You can actually see a little steam. I don't know if the camera's picking up on that, but there's actually a little bit of steam coming off of it. I'm getting 12 degrees Celsius from the shop air. And in the water, oh, we're up to 26 Celsius. So again, yeah, about another 10 degrees Celsius in an hour, approximately. I am fairly confident that this won't get anywhere near boiling. I'm kind of curious where it will actually peak out, where it will stop raising heat. We are now 3 hours into the test. Let's check and see what the temperature is. Temperature in here on my thermostat is reading at 15 degrees Celsius. We are up to 30 degrees Celsius according to this. Let's see, we'll check all the way at this end. Still 30. Still 30. Okay, we are right at 30 degrees. About 230 Celsius on the end of the heat exchanger. Not sure why that matters. I'm gonna go check the carbon monoxide again, but I can pretty much guarantee you guys it's gonna be horrible. Let's see, what are we dealing with? Instant death. We can see there's quite a bit of water dripping out there. Not sure if the camera's picking up on that. You have now made it to the sneak peek part of the video where I'm showing you my automatic transmission fluid test setup. Those of you who saw my waste motor oil test will be familiar with this setup, so I'm not going to go into great detail about it, but I will show you this. We are currently about 18 hours into the test, 246 Celsius. I have consumed a little over 2 liters of automatic transmission fluid, used automatic transmission fluid, and I've consumed about 2 1/8 liters of fresh diesel. I'm excited to finish with this test and get it apart. I do realize that this is kind of counterproductive, but for the purpose of this test, we want to find out how much energy is going into the water. So if it's escaping, it's much harder to read. Of course, this isn't perfectly insulated. I can feel heat coming through the sides of the container, and you know, heat is obviously going to come up through this as well, but it's better than nothing. We are now a total of 4 hours into this test. Hopefully I showed you guys this piece of wood that I put on here. Let's check the temperature now that I've stirred it up. 36 degrees Celsius. So we went from 5 degrees to 36 degrees in 4 hours. I assume it is going to drastically lose, how do I say? I'm pretty sure the temperature isn't going to go up as quickly from here on out, and the reason for that is because of the temperature differential between the water and the surrounding air. When the water was actually cooler than the surrounding air, it could actually absorb some heat energy from the air, and it wasn't giving off any heat energy to the air. Now that the water is considerably warmer than the temperature in the room, it is giving off heat energy into the room much quicker. And the higher the temperature of the water goes, the more quickly it will get rid of that heat. So let's put our board back on. I'm going to put it on this way this time. Maybe we can evenly warp it. And I will come back in another hour and we will check it. Actually, I think I'll come back in another couple hours because now we've collected this data. I don't think it's gonna go up very quickly from here, like I've already said. And so I will come back in a few hours and we'll see what happens. You know what part of the video this is. This is where I tell you that if you're interested in a diesel heater for yourself, there will be affiliate links as well as a discount code below. If you're interested in supporting me on Patreon, there will be a link down there for that as well. Thanks to everyone who supports me there. I do appreciate it. It's a little over an hour later. I was gonna leave it for 2 hours, but I looked at my remote fob and the temperature on the heater had dropped considerably, so I think there's a problem with the exhaust flow. I'm gonna check the temperature of the water and then we will go. Yeah, it might be because we're sucking in a lot of moisture. I've got the inlet pulling in from right there, so I'm gonna run it for a while just on low. And then, shut up, Joel. All right, we are up to 39 degrees Celsius. We're up to 40 degrees Celsius. So we went from, what was it? Yeah, we went up 3 degrees this time. So like I said, even with that lid on, we're not raising temperature nearly as quickly now just because of the temperature differential between the air and the shop air. Yeah, that's what happened for sure. We had a huge buildup of water in the exhaust. So maybe I'll leave the lid off. We are sucking in a huge amount of moisture. Now that the water's hot, the water vapors are going into the heater. It is 1 a.m. and time to shut the heater down because I'm not gonna leave it running all night. I'm currently getting 40 Celsius, and I think a big part of that is because I removed the lid. 40 Celsius. It is now the next morning and I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do with this test, whether I'm going to continue on with it or not. But before I make that decision, I am going to check to see what the water temperature is to see if it's actually come down to room temperature. I highly suspect it has. So the room temperature over at the thermostat, anyway, I assume it's pretty even throughout the garage, is 10.5 degrees Celsius. So we'll see what the water is. I don't expect it to be exactly the same, but let's check and find out. That is interesting. The water temperature is actually 16 degrees. Quite evenly. So the water is holding some of its heat still. I would quite honestly prefer just to delete this footage and pretend that this whole thing never happened. It was one of the more frustrating things that I've done in quite some time, and I am honestly done with it. The only thing more frustrating than doing this test is trying to film this clip. This is probably the 30th or 40th time that I've actually attempted it, and I've had people shoveling outside, cars driving by, airplanes flying over. A random cat came into my yard and walked up my deck while Quasar was outside, so I had to go check on that. This project was one of the more frustrating things that I've done in a long time. A lot of that frustration was because of little pinholes in one of the sections of stainless steel pipe. Why is there a cat in my yard? Is Quasar outside or is he? What's going on out here? What happened there, buddy? What was that, eh? Where did he come from? The frustrating part of the experiment was that one of my pipes had perforations or little pinholes in it, and I didn't realize that. I thought it was my joints leaking, so I tried like 4 different methods to seal up the joints, and probably all of those methods were perfectly fine, and it was leaking through pinholes. Of course, it was the center section of pipe that had the pinholes, and so I had to tear the whole thing completely apart and start over from square one, basically. And because I was frustrated putting it back together the second time, I didn't get an aggressive enough of a downslope on the pipe to actually drain off the condensate efficiently. That being said, I don't think that was the main cause of the carbon monoxide issues. The carbon monoxide was very high from the beginning of the test. Right from the get-go, it was between 700 parts per million and 1,000 where the meter tops out. I'm done with this for now. My heart wasn't completely in it to begin with because I do want to get on with some other waste oil testing. I'm excited to get on to the ATF testing, and a few videos back I told you guys that I was basically out of ideas. Well, the way my brain works is I experiment with stuff, and the experiments that I do give me new ideas. So I now have a whole bunch more ideas that I want to test, and I'm excited to get on to them. And so I guess I wasn't fully devoted to doing this test. I just wanted to get it over with so that I could get back into other stuff. That's probably not a good way to go about doing things. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, as frustrating as it was, and I hope that we learned something from this. If I were going to try this again, I think I would use 1-inch copper and solder the joints together and hope that it didn't have ridiculous carbon monoxide buildup because of the extra flow, because of the size of the pipe. But it would suck to have to throw out all of that copper or just recycle all of that copper that you've bought. But yeah, I don't think I will be trying this particular test again with this tubing because, like I said, it was very frustrating. That's going to do it for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you next time.